I didn't expect my biggest takeaway from this series would be shipping Fisk Cahill and William McIntyre, yet here I am shipping two old men who operate from the shadows. They're like the two old balcony Muppets, except they're not laughing nearly as much, just enjoying the silence between them. I am Jan, welcome to my channel where we discuss books, nostalgia, and the places where these things meet. This is an adult channel meant for adult viewers. Now let's get into this recap. After a month of traveling all around the world and avoiding assassination attempts by their relatives, the end of the 39 clues draws near. Amy and Dan are off to England to find the last, the 39th clue, if you will.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Sent on this final mission by the Madrigals, they are also assigned with uniting their twisted families. But there is a fatal secret the Madrigals just so happen to forget to share that could jeopardize the fate of Dan and Amy and humanity itself. Amy and Dan arrive in their hotel in London, too tired and dismayed to notice an envelope on the floor addressed to the three of them. Nellie attempts to get them to open it and eventually reads it aloud herself. Before they can make sense of the clue, it's snatched by a monkey that breaks in through the window. On its way out, it dropped a coin with a K on it for Cabral. They watch from the window as the monkey is picked up by a limo. Thankfully, Dan memorized the message and they begin doing research on his laptop for information. Before Amy can say what they found, Nellie discovers the coin was a listening device and destroys it. In the limo, Isabel is annoyed, taking out her anger on her children, slapping her son Ian.
You raggedy bitch.
Back with the Cahills, they search the room for more bugs, something they were supposed to do when they first checked in. They find bugs from the other three branches and destroy them, but are unaware their room was bugged by the Madrigals as well. Fisk and William are on the other end, unsure how things will proceed and worried about the secrets they've kept from the children. Amy reveals the message was about William Shakespeare. Nellie makes arrangements for them to see Romeo and Juliet at the Globe Theatre since that's where it was originally performed. We get glimpses of the other clue hunter kids as they begin to question their parents and lives. Ian is sneaking around his mansion, Jonah isn't sure what choice he should make when it comes to his mother, and Hamilton is feeling like a traitor for helping Dan and Amy. Ian has discovered his parents' involvement in the deaths of Arthur and Hope Cahill, as well as all the horror details, like how the other branches present that night tried to help, while Isabel and Vikram just tried to cover it up. He stumbles upon Natalie, and they both find the Lucian serum that was found in Paris. They learn the vial is empty, someone having already drank it. Dan is bored while they're at the Globe Theatre watching Romeo and Juliet, thinking about how the original theater was burned down, something all Cahills have connecting them. While staring at the thatched roof, he spots ninja-like figures donning theater costumes and looking for something in the drainpipe. Amy and Dan get to it first and run on stage. Cut to Jonah watching the whole thing play out, quickly scrambling down to the stage. Remember, he's doing this because his mom's pressuring him to compete. He also spots the rest of the clue hunters making their way down to the stage. Alistair, the Halts, the Cabras. When Amy and Dan see Jonah, they run the other way on the stage. The Cahills freeze when they spot Isabel climbing on her own children's backs in stilettos.
You never get up off the floor, bitch.
The ninjas push Jonah, shoving him into a barrel that rolls off stage and explodes, sending debris flying and the audience scattering. Amy is shocked to learn the ninjas aren't the Halts, when Hamilton unmasks one of them to reveal Sinead Starling. Hamilton is shaken because he knows his family is the reason the Starlings wound up in the hospital in the first place. The only reason they healed so fast was because as genius Ekaterinas, they invented new medical treatments to heal quicker. Ned and Ted grab Dan and drag him away, tying him up in the balcony. Hamilton and Amy get to them. When Sinead tried talking smack about Dan and Amy, Hamilton tosses one of her brothers at her and then punches Ned and Ted unconscious. We love a protective jock. When Hamilton snatches the clue, then Sinead snatches the clue, then all the Cahills are fighting on stage, tearing the clue to shreds. Dan insists they go as he kept a piece of the clue. They hide out in the props room backstage and try to decipher the clue pieces. Amy is able to deduce that they need to visit Stratford-upon-Avon, where Shakespeare was born. Cut to Alistair post-family brawl, all busted up, hiding out in a nearby museum. The guilt of the Night of the Fire is eating him up. The Starlings find him and demand he exchange information because they're both Ekaterinas, which he says no to. That is, until they waive the fact that they stole Bai-O's clues.
Shit. Here we go again.
Nellie nearly kills everyone by driving on the wrong side of the road. The stress of responsibility is getting to them all. Amy is reading about Shakespeare and the lost years. She believes that this is when he was being an active Madrigal agent. Dan points out that Shakespeare became great despite the Madrigals not having any serum to enhance them. Madeline raised the Madrigals with nothing but her will. Iconic.
She's an icon. She's a legend.
Dan demands they pull over for snacks and marvels at the unique options, but like, you were in Japan and Korea. Make it make sense, bro. When Amy sees a TV in the store, she is surprised that the Globe Theater riot made the news. Nellie explains that usually someone covers it up, but Amy thinks something has changed.
Something's different.
With Jonah, he is tasked with creating a diversion at Madame Tussauds, while his mother steals a hint she believes is in the shoe of William Shakespeare. She also has poison gas, grenades, and a gun as a plan B. Jonah is only continuing on the clue hunt because his mother was the one that let him get caught by police after the Globe Theater incident. She's blackmailing him with prison.
You raggedy bitch.
After the heist and safely in a limo, Broderick, Jonah's father, tells him that one of the witnesses will not recant, except on the condition that he meet with her. He does, and it is an old woman named Gertrude Pluterbottom. She is a retired school teacher who is not only a fan of Jonah's, but assigns him the task of reporting on Shakespeare's works. He admits to secretly liking William, but is embarrassed. Miss Pluterbottom makes a point about how similar Shakespeare and hip-hop are, and tells Jonah to be true to himself. At Shakespeare House in Stratford-upon-Avon, Nellie, Amy, and Dan don't have much luck. They start back with the ripped-up clue, guessing that born isn't the right word, and with the help of a friendly tour guide, they learn it must be buried. The guide points them to Holy Trinity Church. At Holy Trinity Church, the Starlings and Alistair are already there. Sinead is thinking about the day the bomb went off and the trauma she endured, as well as the scars her and her brother still carry. Alistair says there's no point of her brothers being on guard duty, as the other teams are already there. The Halts, Cabrals, and Jonah Wizard are skulking around the place. When Ian asks Alistair if it's true that he has 6 ECAT clues, he lies badly, and Ian takes note. Sinead, using a gadget, is able to learn that Ian has learned that all the teams together have found 38 clues, and only one remains to be discovered. She feels woefully behind in the hunt. Hamilton realizes his buddies, Amy and Dan and Isabel, aren't there, and immediately threatens Ian to find out if their mother did anything when Amy and Dan and Nellie rush into the church. Natalie also mentions that their mother won't be an issue, but they need to hurry and finish the hunt. Everyone is starting to change and question the hunt and what it means and what will come after. The end is near, and that's a scary promise. As our heroes arrive, the others head out, having planted spy cameras to see if Dan and Amy can figure it out on their own. They write on a piece of paper to communicate, but aren't able to find a clue. They waste a day and are made to leave near closing when Dan asks to get a rubbing of Shakespeare's tombstone. He does, and while doing so, the other teams come in and demand their own copies. In his distraction, he had rubbed below the poem, uncovering a secret second verse. He hides his astonishment and rips it up, giving the teams theirs so they can leave, and finally getting the secret poem when they're gone. The clue reveals that Shakespeare wants them to dig up his grave.
Am I really gonna defile this grave for money? Of course I am!
Fisk and William, gay icons that they are at a restaurant near the River Avon. McIntyre gets an update that Dan found the clue. Fisk asks if it was a good idea to alert the other teams on where to go, and William responds that it's the only way to force the family together. It's their last chance. Dan and Amy come back that night to dig up Shakespeare, seeing the chains locking the place up had already been unlocked by someone else. After finally getting inside and uncovering the coffin, they find a long stick with letters on it that reveal they had to go back to the Cahill ancestral home, which is also the headquarters of the Madrigals. They also find a ribbon with random letters on it. Dan wonders why it couldn't be a simple numbers clue.
The numbers, basically. What do they mean?
But they're interrupted by the volunteer from the church, thanking Dan and Amy before realizing it's just the Cahills and quickly leaving just as the other clue hunting teams arrive. She threatens to unravel the ribbon, wedges one end under a vase, grabs a loose thread, and they both run off, leaving a trail of loose thread in their wake. As they run out the church, they try to take a roundabout way back to Nellie, but are caught in the headlights of a car barreling towards them. It's Nellie, yelling at them to get in.
Come with me if you want to live.
Back with the old volunteer, he is lamenting how as a madrigal, tonight was supposed to be the night they worked together, but it all failed. So he pulls out a file to recreate the clues his family has been keeping watch over for generations, but someone gets a jump on him and takes the disc. Nellie is driving away as Hamilton and Eisenhower are hauling ass behind her, keeping pace with the car. Amy says they need to stop at the hotel for their stuff, but Nellie says she already packed them and checked out of the hotel.
And she is the moment. Now, come on now.
In the car, Dan writes down the clues on a piece of shredded t-shirt that Amy cut up. They wrap it around the metal pole they took and find out it's giving longitude and latitude coordinates to the Madrigal stronghold. Nellie makes a comment about buying a deluxe GPS with the Madrigal resources, and Amy dials McIntyre to tell him they'll need to rent a helicopter. With Fisk and William, they agree to support Amy and Dan and trust them, warning the Cahills that they won't be able to get in contact once they get there. Then, William gets an update that shakes both men to their core, and they're unable to do anything at this point as everything is coming to a head, and soon, all will be revealed. They get a pilot to fly them to Cahill Island and drop them off. They see a doorway at the top of a cliff and a beach and a cemetery below, realizing that's where they need to go. But before they can begin, out in the distance they see a boat with Hamilton Holt waving at them from it.
Baby boy, baby.
Really?
Looks like a baby to me.
The Holts get there, admitting they put a tracking device on the Cahill's rental car and track them there, before they begin climbing the cliff face with climbing gear. Before they get too far, the other teams show up in various transports. Jonah, the Cabras, Alistair. So Mary Todd and the girls go back down to hold them off, so as Eisenhower and Hamilton keep climbing. But Hamilton is worried that he isn't being a decent human being and wonders about sharing the 39 clues. Eisenhower is shocked to hear this, worried he's failing as a father by not winning. Thinking about how he was recently kidnapped and told by strangers that there's no way anyone can win the 39 clues alone. He agrees to work with the others though, planning to fake it to the end, and begins descending with Hamilton. The love between Eisenhower and Mary Todd is so beautiful, they really are devoted to their family. Love wins. Anyhow, Eisenhower threatens Dan to go with them. Amy whispers not to trust them before he's taken. Then the three of them begin ascending with Hamilton carrying Dan the whole way up. The duality of man. They arrive at the top. Hamilton is optimistic his dad will keep his promise.
You sure about that? You sure about that?
At the top, Dan approaches the keypad and doors. He falls, brushing his hand on the keypad and opening the doors. He tells Eisenhower that he will still need him, cowering behind Hamilton, throwing them both off balance as they fall over the cliff. Thankfully, they're saved by Hamilton still being attached to his climbing gear. When back atop the cliff, Dan cowers within the doors before Eisenhower punches him in the face. In the confusion of Mr. Holt yelling at Dan about nearly killing Ham, the doors close and they begin to descend. It was an elevator and it opened back onto the cemetery. On the beach, everyone makes a beeline for the elevator, piling in. However, the elevator will not move without a representative from each Cahill branch passing a retinal scan first. Alistair does so for the ECATs, Jonah for the Janice, Ian for the Lucians, and Hamilton for the Tomas. Natalie is also there in the elevator. When the computer asks for a Madrigal, everyone is shocked, stating that they're not a Cahill branch. Jonah asks Dan if he can pretend to be a Madrigal again and trick the retinal scan. Eisenhower lifts Dan, threatening them because he refuses to work with Madrigals, but he raises Dan into the retinal scanner's path. Nellie and the pilot try to stop Eisenhower, attacking him so he drops Dan, but everything is cut off when the elevator closes and begins ascending. In the darkness, the others are heard whispering in shock about the discovery that Dan and Amy are truly Madrigals. Remember, to everyone else, the Madrigals are a shady organization that gets in their way. All that remains are the children and Alistair, the fate of the world in their hands. The doors open back at the top of the cliff. Alistair suggests every branch touch the keypad, and they rush to do so, and at first nothing happens, but then a hidden doorway is revealed at the back of the elevator. Hamilton watches as the others begin descending a set of spiral stairs, hanging back to ensure his family can follow by jamming some of his climbing equipment into the elevator doors, quickly following the others as Alistair also follows behind. They aren't even all the way down the stairs when pebbles begin raining down on Hamilton, Jonah, Ian, Natalie, Amy, Dan, and Alistair. The Cabrals are fearful it's their mother. They spot a figure rappelling down past the spiral staircase. Hamilton chases after them, thinking it's one of his family. When he catches up and grabs the person, he feels the scars through the fabric, realizing it's not his family. It's Sinead Starling, and Hamilton realizes her scars were caused by the halts. Sinead spots a sign, taunting the others with how they'll need her to solve the riddle. Amy says it's not a riddle, it's the truth of the Madrigal's mission, to reunite the families. She even points out a keypad with all 5 branches stamped on the buttons. The lights come on because another room is illuminated, a museum, just like the other strongholds had. Amy finds a transcription on a wooden table, the Cahill family table. It's Olivia Cahill's letter about how her dying wish was that her family be reunited, even if it's far into the future with her children's children's children. But then a great rumbling is heard, and boulders rain down from the ceiling. Everyone tries to take cover, heading for Amy's voice as she screams from under the table. Alistair loses his cane, which contains the ECAT clues. Everyone brought their branches clues, and Jonah is struck by falling debris as well. When everything settles, everyone works together to find Jonah. His legs are broken and he is unconscious but alive. The entrance is blocked in, and the only way out now is through the stronghold. Ian tells them they need to hurry before his mother catches up with them. She may have even been responsible for the explosion that caused that cave-in. Hamilton and Ian carry Jonah, while Dan carries their one remaining flashlight and heads into the Gauntlet. The Gauntlet will test the knowledge they've acquired over the clue hunt. They get to the first question, but need not answer it because the door is hanging by its hinges. Same with the next one. And then more rumbling. Alistair instructs everyone on how to stay safe from the cave-in. Gee, wonder why he would need to know that. Afterwards, he tries to bring up his promise to Dan and Amy's parents, but Dan snaps at him that he doesn't even know what promises are. Explosions continue to go off randomly as everyone slowly makes their way past broken doors after broken door. Some of the questions are even about clues, the Madrigals having expected everyone to be open to sharing by that point. They make it to the last door, the 39th, but it's locked. It's a question about a Shakespeare play, which Natalie slaps Jonah awake so he can help answer. When it opens, she snatches the only flashlight and runs forward, right over a cliff. But Dan catches her, his body hanging over an open pit that swallows the light of the falling flashlight. Amy catches him to stop him from falling. Ian, Hamilton, and Sinead work together to help pull the 3 of them back up. Ian consoles Natalie, affirming that she is safe.
You sure about that?
They fashion torches from rope and Natalie's perfume, which gives them a good view of the abyss that sits before them now. They spot a ledge around the edge of the room, but they use to get across to the final locked door. It has another keypad, which pops open after a moment, revealing a plaque that marks the last remains of Gideon Cahill's laboratory. They also split and try in vain to find the prize for themselves. Hamilton and Ian even drop Jonah, who begins to crawl, with Dan realizing that this lab is one of many destroyed labs that were attempts to reunite the family. In the darkness, Dan sees a vial, possibly the Master Serum, and only one person is holding it. Isabel Cabral. When Hamilton attempts to tackle her, she pulls out a freaking gun and fires a warning shot, shooting the rope torch in his hands. Hamilton notes how large the gun is, something capable of firing multiple rounds. Not a standard pistol then.
One crazy ass bitch!
She has them extinguish their torches one by one and orders Ian to retrieve Jonah, threatening to shoot Natalie. He says she wouldn't shoot her own daughter, and she immediately shoots her own daughter in the foot. Ian does what his mother asks of him. She monologues about how the vial is the last clue and will only be activated once all 5 branches touches it. Hamilton says he has no one there for her to threaten, and so she pulls up a live camera feed of the cemetery outside, where Nellie, the pilot, and the Holtz were all tied to tombstones that she has rigged with explosives. Truly, the stakes have never been higher. When Amy says the Madrigals will stop her, Isabel shows the footage of Fisk and William also bound to the tombstones outside. She also says she has assassins ready to take out every Madrigal agent in the world at her command.
I hate you so much.
When Ian and Jonah return, she has them touch the vial, revealing the last clue. It's Gideon Cahill's serum recipe. She has Hamilton reveals his clue first. Then she demands Jonah do so as well, showing him that Broderick followed him there and is amongst the many tied up in the cemetery. Dan and Amy go next, not even hesitating to try and save Nellie. Finally, she threatens to kill Sinead's brothers, calling them an ableist slur. Ted is severely visually impaired, and Ned has disabling migraines as a result of the bombing. But she only has one of the brothers. The other is hidden somewhere on the island. Alistair steps in, knowing Sinead doesn't know any clues, and gives Isabel what she wants. She prepares the serum and is about to drink it when Ned Starling appears and she aims her gun at him, but everyone else lunges for her. They're successful in saving Ned and tackling Isabel, loosening her grip on the vial. When it rolls away, everyone dives for it except for Amy and Dan, who Isabel shakes off. Everyone is fighting for the vial as Dan and Amy fight off Isabel. Dan punches her. She strikes him with the butt of the gun, and Amy, the badass, breaks the vial on Isabel's head.
Happy birthday?
In the calm afterwards, Alistair drugs Isabel with Irina's poisons to keep her knocked out and make her forget the last 24 hours so she doesn't remember the serum or the recipe. Everyone realizes how shitty they were for prioritizing the serum over Ned's life, and so they all give Dan their clues to memorize, making them the official winners of the clue hunt, and having reunited the family. Everyone head back up to release the hostages, with hugs and celebrations all around, and even Eisenhower is just happy that his son is safe. Jonah is flown away in the helicopter. Sinead, Alistair, and Isabel fly off in her lightweight plane so Alistair can assure Isabel is arrested. The Starling brothers got a lift with Ian and Natalie. When Ian tells Natalie they're poor now, William McIntyre adds that Grace had an addendum in the will that whoever survived the Gauntlet got double the amount offered in their will originally. They're back to millionaire status in seconds and are off to shore. Dan finally asks Fisk and William why did Grace want them to find the serum in the first place. After a moment of hesitation, he tells them another family is becoming a possible threat and the serum was needed in case. But they also have the power of all the Cahill branches now too. They tell Dan and Amy that now they can wait and grow up now, and tell them Grace will explain. Mr. McIntyre gives them a letter from Grace, one of many just in case. In the letter, she apologizes and warns them about this coming threat, but also tells them to always choose love. Maybe the real 39 clues was the friends we made along the way.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
As the kids think of where to call home, they settle on Massachusetts. This is when William chimes in again, telling them that Grace left them her property in her will, so they can have her mansion rebuilt if they'd like. He also shares how he has transferred guardianship from Aunt Beatrice to Fisk and Nellie. Amy realizes the school year has started back home, and Dan is ready to get back to a normal life. For now. So that's where this series ends, with the promise of more adventure and danger to come. The Cahills will need each other in the fight that is sure to follow, and they have come together just in time. Jonah is set on being true to himself and embracing his love of Shakespeare. The Starlings have a plan for new medical treatments that can help others as well as themselves. Hamilton has stood his ground against his dad and chose a different path. Ian and Natalie are disowning their parents, refusing to stand by cruelty. These children have chosen to heal from the generational trauma that has plagued their family for centuries, and they came out stronger and more united for it. Let's uncover more secrets in the next one when I read Vespers Rising. Catch you all in the next one. Don't forget to like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Bye!
Bye!